So there's many structural issues within the restaurant industry that need to be discussed. Okay, the thing is, I really don't believe that we are discussing the right ones. I left the restaurant industry, or so to say, the operational part of the restaurant industry, aged 43. I was really lucky. Really, really lucky. Because this is not an opportunity that is served to a lot of people. This is an opportunity that I managed to give myself by working hard, yeah. Being lucky, yeah. Making the right choices, yeah. Integrating my ego, understanding my ego, yeah. All of those things, all of the above. Because cooking professionally has an expiry date that is not in line with how society is ready to pay you back. Okay? This is not the case for not working in a kitchen or not working in the restaurant industry. It is quite the opposite. But you need to have a clear idea of what it can do to you and what it can offer you, but also more than anything, what it probably will not offer you, which is a way out as I had it. Today, my wife is cooking, which means I'm doing the prep. So I'll need to fix a chicken for butter chicken, which is her number one dish. It's a signature dish. We need fairly sharp knife, one chicken, one little bowl for the chicken, one pot, pressure cooker, if you ask me, for making the stock. Washing the hands. I'm doing it. Now, I have to admit that if we need to talk about privilege, I have been extremely privileged working and having restaurants of the highest level using the best thinkable produce. Okay? I used to be very adamant about telling everybody how important it was to choose organic chickens, organic foods in every way. I still feel strongly about that, but what I have reduced is my constant need to tell people how easy and how useful and how good it is for everybody. Because now that I no longer can just grab a chicken, 2 chickens, a box of chickens, whatever, all the nice meat I would want and bring it home, I realized how damn expensive it is. And this is not to say, oh, don't buy it because now I realize that it's expensive. Do whatever you want. That's what I'm trying to say. But what I am realizing is that I understand differently what the cost of these things are because I'm not doing wholesale anymore, am I? So this little nice chicken, which is organic, yes, but honestly not what I'm used to. Because it's good, but not that good. It cost us 160 kroner, which would be about 20 euros or so. That's a good amount of money for dinner. And Today I don't have the teenager at home. It's just my wife and the small kids. So this is gonna be fine. But I have to say that I'm not even sure that this is enough any longer if the boy is home, right? The big boy's home. So I'm just gonna cut this all up real fast and show you. Not much about it really, because this channel is not so much about cooking tutorials. I could make it into cooking tutorials, but you know, I'm good at prepping chicken. But are you gonna tell me that if you Google or search for on YouTube how to prep chicken, that you won't find someone better at it than me? Either you're really bad at doing your searches, or YouTube is not serving you right, because I'm good at it, but I'm not that good either, you know? So my intention with my channel is more to try and integrate cooking with thinking. That's what it's about. Cooking and thinking. I, as a chef, have a lot of experience in both cooking and living the restaurant life. And what I want to offer on my channel is simply that, the mix of cooking and thinking out of experience. Because, you know, I wasn't that good at cooking when I was young, but I was sure as hell not good at thinking either. Because with the maturity I gained over the last 20 years, I mean, I'm 43, and it's not that I feel that I've sorted it out now, but what I've sorted out is that I really haven't sorted it out. I have years of therapy and introspection behind me, leaving me truly convinced that I know very little about anything. But what I know for sure is the chicken is gonna be ready for tonight, and that I prepped this in no time whatsoever. And my wife has skills that are not really compatible with prepping chicken. She's a doctor, but I'm the surgeon, at least when it comes to these. That's it. Chicken prepped. Stock is ready. What I like to do is I like to use the pressure cooker because it allows me to get almost as far as I need to go with a stock within an hour, okay? I fill it up with water, I get it going, put it on full heat, it starts whistling, it goes on, and I have a stock in an hour that's pretty far. So what always happens is that when my wife says butter chicken, I'm thinking risotto. Yeah. Because within 2 or 3 days, I will have my stock ready, reduced. We would have had our butter chicken with the rice. I'm gonna put a 1 day in between, and I'm gonna throw in a little risotto now that it's spring with some green ramson leaves and peas. So this is the recipe list of the house. Butter chicken. What do we do? I need some yogurt, some salt, probably more salt than my wife has written on this recipe. All right. So there's a physical aspect to professional cooking that I think is really hard to make sense of, because it is physically demanding, but it's not physically improving. The fact that you just stand, and you stand there for hours, it's very tiring and it's breaking down your body, but it's not strengthening you much. Except, I would say, your feet you know, you have less sore feet than you have when you start off. But the body's not made to stand up for that many hours without some sort of movement. And when you don't move around, you just get broken down. I've had back injuries and I've had knee injuries forever. But then, when we want to make this into a structural issue, which I think it is, what we have to consider for a moment is that it's not, we need to stop thinking about structural issues as something that someone is doing to you. It's like, I think what a lot of people get wrong is when they discuss structural issues, they really want to make it into us and them. I think that we're getting it wrong when we think about it like that. Structural issues are things that are embedded in all of us and that is very hard for any of us to escape from. And I think that is just a much more generous understanding of it that then allows for you to have a little bit more tolerance towards other people's position or thoughts or opinions or even political standpoint. Because in the discussions lately about the restaurant industry, it's become, the structural issue we have to do, and it has to do with some people and they are in power, and then we're not discussing structural issues, we're discussing power structures again. And while they should be discussed, and while they should be considered, and while they should be critiqued, they're not the whole thing. Structural issues within the restaurant industry are real. One of them is that you are physically not capable of doing this your entire life. If you are a chef and you work in a restaurant, and let's say the higher the level, the lesser the time span, the lifespan. The higher the level, the lesser the lifespan. Because either you get to the very top, which allows you to not stand up all damn day. Now, I did a dinner not that long ago at Esse restaurant. You can see the video. Several videos I made about it. Where I must admit that I was not capable of standing up for that long. And the guys made a damn restaurant without anywhere to hide. If you're the boss, the first thing you do when you make a restaurant is you make corners to which you can hide. You go there and you sit down and do important things on your computer, emails, strategy, call it what you want. But the one thing you want to do is to sit down more often. That's how you get past 40 plus. But even with that, sitting down is just rarely a thing. And a person contacted me critiquing my standpoints earlier and pointing towards this idea that there was, it became sort of a critique of the brigade system and power structures, which I don't think it was, but the point was that standing up and having to stand up all the time is performative, and it makes very little sense. And I have to admit that I think that that's true. I have not thought that through entirely, but I have to say that to me it's embedded in me that you can't sit down and prep. You cannot sit down and prep. It just, I don't know. Yeah, structure. Like there's something in that does not resonate. Like, we're busy. We need to move. Are you sitting down? What, are you lazy? Yeah, that makes sense. It doesn't sit right with me, and I believe that for sure it doesn't sit right in many restaurants. But we could make the case that if you would change your day in a way that you could go in and you could do a lot of your prep sitting down, I guess you'll be more refreshed before you get to your dinner service. It's an interesting thought. There's a limitation because it's not like all prep can be done sitting down, obviously. But are we shucking peas? Let's sit down. Are we peeling 10 kilos of ginger? Let's sit down. I think that that's fine. And I think that that makes sense. And I think that that's a good, it's a good perspective. And I appreciate it. And I think it's valuable. But I don't think it's going to fly a lot in many places because this is the thing with the structural, the narrative, this idea that you say, oh, it's not, it's just performative. Yeah, but even the performative parts are there for a reason. You protect a certain narrative. And you have to understand that when you are there's a group and everybody's busy, so let's just assume that someone sits down and everybody's like, so the guy's sitting down and I'm really busy, what the hell's up with this? The performance is to say, well, I'm there with you. I'm not just going to hang around. So it requires a lot of the management to not make that out of balance. Because at least with the idea that everybody stands up, everybody runs around, it's kind of more egalitarian. It's the same for everybody. The other part, I have sympathy with it, but it is, I believe, difficult to do. Like my knees are done, my back is done, and I want to make it really, really, really clear that that's not the fault of the restaurant industry. I would have wished that I knew more about how to stand and how to move and what kind of shoes to wear. That I think, I mean, today we have so much access to so much knowledge that you could very much have a completely different understandings of things that I had access to when I was a chef apprentice and I was young and I was starting out. But I think the way that I was standing and moving was just wrong. And, you know, I think, again, it depends on you and depends on what kind of physicality you have. But undoubtedly, I would say you must have some level of physical exercise that you try and strengthen the stuff that is just hammered on while you're working professionally. If not, you're pretty much doomed. I guess it's fair that I take a seat for the rest of this one. What I'm trying to say is that there's structural issues, there's a physicality to the work that you do professionally that is very much limiting your scope within this world. There's no way around it. There's no way that you can just build a body that can stand up 15, 16 hours a day your entire life. But you have to understand that the restaurant industry also offers very varied alternatives. In Denmark, where I am, it's become this often used sort of exit from a higher level of cooking at high-end restaurants to go into the canteen kind of work, which is in Denmark, most large companies have some sort of staff canteen where professional chefs are cooking food at sometimes very impressive level, and they do so obviously just for lunch. So you have a work day that is much more forgiving. It's much more forgiving towards having a family, that once you reach a certain age, it will be difficult to work every night and have a family and be there for your family. So what I suggest is that the physical part of the work is not sustainable forever, but the main reframing that I think most people should do is to accept the fact that they might not stay in the restaurant industry their entire life. But that doesn't mean that it's not the right choice at one point, because the restaurant industry offers you skills, capabilities, experiences, friendship, connections, understanding that is unique. And I believe that someone that has a cooking experience at medium to high level will most definitely be able to contribute in just about any other type of profession, because the way of having a sense of urgency, a sense of responsibility, the multiple deadlines, understanding pressure in such a way, understanding a line of command, being responsive to people's needs, your colleagues, the guests, all these things, makes you an asset no matter where you go. So when you go into the restaurant industry young, start thinking about work-life balance and for the sort of how you're gonna stay in this forever, because you probably won't. Like, you cannot physically do that, and you probably won't. For you to play those cards well, you do need to keep your ego in check and make steps in the right direction that are at first informative and instructive and enriching, but at one point need to be a little more calibrated towards a longer game and getting out. I was very fortunate because I opened a restaurant aged 27, and it became successful from the very beginning, and it pushed me to open more restaurants almost immediately within the range of 3-4 years. So by doing so, I already became more honestly a director, a CEO, if you like, than a chef, a head chef. So my work life already started to change. Despite all of that, for reasons less of a chef and more of a chef proprietor, if you like, I still wanted to get out, because even at that level, at least with the setup that I put myself in, I didn't find it sustainable to keep on. I wanted to try something else. The main structural issue I find that we have to confront in this industry is the fact that the customers are not ready to pay and value food, and therefore gastronomy, at the level they should, which makes it very difficult for you to sustain a living where your expertise that grows over the years will allow you to be rewarded in proportion so that you can work less as you get older. That is difficult if you don't also become a businessman, businesswoman. So please, understand it as it is. It's not the patriarchy. It's not the capitalist system. It's not them against us. What you need to understand is that the structural issues are things that, even though we would want to, might be impossible to change. So I want to appeal to you that you, instead of trying to change them, seek to understand them as much as you possibly can, and therefore play your cards in the best possible way. That's what I did, and that's why I can sit in my kitchen, age 43, prep chicken for my wife's dinner tonight, and talk on camera. I was lucky, but I also played my cards well. If you have questions or are wondering about some elements of the restaurant industry that you think I can be helpful with, I am more than willing to help. Please write a comment down below and ask whatever you're thinking and see if I can help. Thank you.